In the heart of the Arabian desert, where towering mountains rise, these rocks stand as ancient guardians, telling forgotten stories. The people of Thamud lived here. Their homes, carved into the rocks, offered shelter from the scorching sun and the biting cold of the night, protecting them from the harshness of nature. The bounties of the world were in their hands, from lush gardens and flowing rivers. These oases were like paradise in the middle of the barren desert, but their hearts were heedless, lost in the darkness of polytheism and disbelief. Idol worship filled their lives, and they thought these idols brought them good fortune and blessings. They forgot their great creator. They remained for many years in their misguidance, searching for light in dark places, unaware that salvation was near, until God sent them a guiding light, a prophet from among them, who knew their language and understood their hearts. He came to be their guide and teacher, to lead them out of darkness and into the light. He came to give them good news of God's mercy and to warn them of his punishment. He carried a message of peace and love, calling them to worship the one God and abandon idol worship. Salih, a name that carries the meanings of righteousness and piety. He was a prophet sent to the people of Thamud, who lived in the region of Al-Hijr, God's messenger to a people who transgressed in the land. Salih called them to worship God alone, and to abandon the worship of idols that neither benefit nor harm. He walked among them with confident steps, spreading the message of truth. He spoke to them in the marketplaces and homes, trying to persuade them with wisdom and good counsel. He called them to abandon idol worship and turn to the one and only God. He reminded them of God's blessings upon them and how God is the creator and sustainer of all things. His gentle voice filled the air, sincere words emanating from a grieving heart. He felt sorrow for his people who rejected his call. He warned them of the consequences of their disbelief and reminded them of God's countless blessings. He told them about the punishment that awaited them if they did not repent. But the people of Thamud, their hearts blinded by arrogance, mocked his words and defied his call. They thought their strength and wealth would protect them from any punishment. The arrogance of Thamud made them ignore their prophet's call. They believed they were too powerful and great to follow a prophet. They saw his call as nothing but a threat to their power and influence. They mocked his words and denied God's power. They laughed and scoffed, unaware of the consequences of their actions. They had no faith in what their prophet was saying. They demanded a sign, physical proof of his prophethood. They wanted something tangible, something they could see with their own eyes to believe. "Show us a miracle if you are truthful." They challenged him rudely, indifferent to what might happen. They shouted at him, filling the place with noise. Their voices were loud, as if they wanted to impose their opinion by force. Salih did not hesitate to respond to his people's demand, raising his hands to heaven, praying to his Lord. He was confident that God would answer his prayer. God answered his prayer, and brought forth a she-camel from the rocks. It was a great miracle. They couldn't believe their eyes when they saw it. A wondrous she-camel, unique in its creation. It was unlike any camel they had ever seen before, which made them realize God's greatness. He commanded them to leave her share of the water and not to harm her. This she-camel was a symbol of faith and defiance, and they had to respect her. The she-camel emerged from the rock, wet with the water of mercy. It was a sign from God, clear proof of his power. It drank from the spring and grazed from their trees, but their hardened hearts were not moved by seeing this miracle. God's she-camel increased the faith of the believers, but it increased the disbelievers' anger and resentment. The arrogant looked at her with gazes full of envy and hatred. They conspired to kill her, as if challenging God in his greatness. The arrogant did not fear God's punishment. They gathered in the darkness of night, plotting a heinous crime. One of them shot a treacherous arrow, striking the she-camel, and she fell to the ground. The earth trembled from the horror of the crime. The sky darkened, and the clouds filled with blackness. A fierce sound shook hearts, and a bright light blinded eyes. One strike of God's punishment was enough to destroy their homes and ruin their future. The people of Thamud vanished, and none remained. Their rock-carved homes became empty, echoing their sins. Their story remains, a lesson for those who defy God's power. Time passed and the desert sands buried their traces. But their lesson remains present in every time and place. A lesson about the consequences of injustice and tyranny, and about the fate of those who are arrogant towards their Creator. The story of Salih and the people of Thamud reminds us of God's greatness and power. It assures us that faith in his signs is the path to salvation. It warns us of the consequences of arrogance and disbelief and calls us to humility and righteousness. In our hearts, this story plants the seeds of faith and certainty. It teaches us that God is merciful to his servants, but he is severe in punishment to the wrongdoers. Let us draw lessons from this story that illuminate our paths and lead us to the path of goodness and guidance. In the midst of the darkness that befallen the people of Thamud, there was a ray of light. This light was embodied in their prophet Salih, who tried his best to save his people from destruction. Salih was a symbol of faith, patience, and dedication to calling to God. Despite all the challenges, he never lost hope in guiding his people. This light that Salih carried reflects the light we must carry in our lives, the light of faith and certainty in God's power. We must be like Salih, striving to be a light for those around us, spreading goodness and guidance, and trying to be a reason for saving others from darkness. Gap 3S. If you liked the video, don't forget to press the like button to encourage us to share more inspiring stories. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on new videos. If you have any questions or inquiries, please feel free to leave them in the comments.